Hello, everyone. Welcome to Aligning with Purpose, a podcast where we explore themes of finding your true purpose, from quitting corporate, moving cities, practicing holistic health, and more. Join me as we discover our purposes together. My name is Juli, and I'm so happy you're here. Welcome, Aishah. It's so great to meet you.
Likewise, thank you so much for having me.
I'm so excited to talk to you today. Your story really resonated with me, so I'm excited to share your story to everyone. And Aishah is a former corporate girly who left her 9 to 5 job, and she's starting over to build a life that finally feels like hers. She documents her honest, messy, and empowering journey of rebuilding herself in her 30s and learning to trust her voice again. She's also a digital nomad and recently spent 6 weeks traveling through Europe while creating content on the road. She works to support women who want to rewrite their own paths and take the first brave step to creating their dream life. This is so exciting, and I'm so excited to hear from you firsthand on how you transformed into where you are today.
I'm excited to share. It's been a journey. My beauty and humanity moment is I recently just spent the weekend in San Luis Obispo up in northern-ish California, and I'd never been there, and I just went because I wanted to get away for the weekend. And I kept seeing all these signs around town that said holiday festival this Friday, holiday festival this Friday. And I'm like, what is this holiday festival? And for those of you that don't know, San Luis Obispo is a much smaller town than Los Angeles. And so it said it was between 7 and 9. So I got my dog and we walked over to where it said the festival was going to be. And it's blocks upon blocks of people with their chairs out, families out, the kids are out, the dogs are out. And it's a holiday parade. And it's so cheesy, but I thought it was so cute and so adorable because I've always lived in bigger cities and I've never seen small town vibe, holiday. And it wasn't a parade you're going to see on TV, right? It's someone driving their F-150 pickup truck with a thing attached to the back of it that they've strung some lights around. The local high school marching band came through and played, and it was just so cute and wholesome. And so that's my humanity moment.
I love that. It does show the community getting together. I grew up in a small suburban city in Los Angeles, kind of not small, but we would do also parades in the Christmas time. So it does remind me of that. And that's really sweet to see everyone come together, the high schoolers and,
Adorable.
kids, parents, and all of that. I don't have a very specific one. I was trying to be really present, especially now that I live in New York City, moving from LA. I have the opportunity to walk everywhere now. I'm not in my car as often. So
Love
in
that.
those moments, there's so many people you pass by and you just can appreciate each individual, even if you don't know them, just walking by, being present with yourself. You're like, oh, this person has such a different life that I don't even know of, and they have their own story. And the other person across the street also has their own story. And I think there's so much beauty in acknowledging every individual because you just don't know what they're going through and what their life could be like. And it's nice to be able to give grace, even if in your head, I guess, right? But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, just sending love from afar. But that was my small moment that, was really small. But I think for me, I'm like, okay, that is sort of the point of this segment.
Okay, that was really beautiful for somebody who was I don't really have one. That was really good.
I want to get into your story, and I'm so excited to get to know more because I've been seeing your content on TikTok and I want to hear more about who you are. I know you started your journey in corporate and now you're digital nomading and you're doing your own thing. And you can start way before corporate as well. But I want to start by getting to know you first. And where did you grow up? And what was your path that led you to your 9 to 5?
You know that I'm giggling to myself because I feel like my path has been just all over the place, but in the most amazing way possible. So I'm originally from Indianapolis, Indiana. So I'm a Midwestern girl at heart. I went to undergrad in Ohio, and then I picked up and I moved to LA, and I've been here ever since. And I studied kinesiology and entrepreneurship during undergrad. So I moved to LA. I'm a personal trainer and I was a group fitness instructor in college. And so I'm I'm going to move to LA. I'm going to open my own fitness studios and that's going to be the dream. And I did that for a little while. And like very transparently, I was a 22-year-old kid being a personal trainer at an Equinox gym, which was like a pretty like high-end gym. My main clients were women in their like 30s and 40s and sometimes 50s. And I almost feel bad saying this, but part of the reason I walked away from that was because a lot of times clients would come in and they were asking me for like life advice, like literally like, should I divorce my husband? Like, what do you think about this? And I was just like a 22-year-old kid trying to do my best to navigate life. And so I was like, this is too much for me. And it wasn't feeling aligned. And then I really spent all of my 20s trying a gazillion different things. Like, I did that. I worked at a CrossFit gym. I worked in finance. I thought I wanted to be a physician assistant. So, like, I went down that path for half a second. I was a medical scribe. I mean, you name it. I thought about it. And if I thought about it, I probably tried it if I thought about it. And so ultimately, I was in finance and I was like, I want to work in sports analytics because I love basketball. And so I took this like coding class at USC to like get the ball rolling. And then I landed a job working for for Ice Cube's 3-on-3 basketball league called the Big Three.
Okay.
And I did that and it was a great experience. It gave me the exposure to like the sports world. And again, so grateful for my time. Do not need to go back and do that again. Because it was a lot of like, we went to like 2 cities every weekend. It was a lot of time on the road and it was just like very long days and like sometimes you're like traveling by bus, sometimes you're traveling by plane. There was nothing glamorous about it, but
Mhm.
it was like cool. It was a fun experience. And then from there I went to grad school. I studied data science at Berkeley and then landed a job. I worked in another like sports advertising company before that, and then I landed a job at another like sports tech company, and that's where I was the last couple of years before deciding to leave. And it was always my dream to like and I wasn't exactly in sports and data, but it was like a sports company, and I was doing like data type work. And so you think you've like finally like got the dream company, you've got the dream job title, you've got the amazing pay, and wow, it was not what I thought.
Yeah.
And so yeah.
I can really relate to that a lot. So you had a sports marketing background. I also was in entertainment. I was working in film and well, film specifically at a major studio, and
Mhm.
it was really toxic. I want to know why for you it wasn't what you thought it was, and how long were you in corporate?
So, I mean, between like the finance job I had before, I would say I was probably in corporate from like 5 to 8 years, like my like mid 20s on. And it wasn't, I realized I got there and like 3 months in, probably. I was like, I don't think I love this. But I felt guilty because I've spent so much of my time trying all these different things that I was like, maybe I just need to give it more time. So I gave it more time. I was there for a year and a half and then they did like major layoffs. And so I got let go. And I was sad for half a second and then it was like right before summer and I ended up having the best summer of my life. I was like traveling, trying all the things, doing all the things that like makes my heart so happy. But I was like, I'm gonna have to go back and get another corporate job at some point. And then they called me back for like a different role in a different team. So I went back and it was just like it was even crazier than before. So I don't know that I had some like earth shattering moment that like, like someone in a call like yelled at me. Like that was never the case. It was just like, this isn't aligned with me and this doesn't feel right for me. I'm not happy here. It's not, work ideally is 8 hours of my day.
Right.
I can't be miserable and sad for 8 hours a day. Like that's just not sustainable for me. It's not going to work for me. And like life would be so much easier if I could just make this work and be happy here, but I'm not. And so I have to make some big changes. And that kind of was like, okay, like let's just try.
Right, right. So you were in corporate for 5 to 8 years. You were laid off once during that, but then they called you back to take a different
Hmm.
role at the company. And were there things in your day-to-day that you were like, "Oh, this is not for me," even if it was like a mindset thing where you kind of were feeling, yeah, the
Yeah.
redundancy or whatever it was for you?
Yeah. From having calls at like 6 in the morning, 7 in the morning, and I was like, we are not inventing anything like life saving around here. And it was just, I mean, I'll be honest. Like, I don't care to get on a call and hear that like you took little Bobby to the park this weekend. Like I like the political game that you have to play in the corporate world, I just couldn't
That's so
pretend.
real.
I just couldn't. And I feel like but that's a big part of it, right? Like everyone shows up to this call and they are so excited to talk about these numbers that like are making this billion-dollar company even more money or however much money they're
Oh my
making. And
God,
I'm
yes.
like I'm like, who, what? So that was like, I think sometimes when I tell people it like wasn't for me, or even close friends, they're often like, was someone mean to you at work? Was someone like yelling at you? And it really wasn't any of that. It's like, I didn't love the structure to it. Like, I just, I don't want to feel like I have to squeeze in a lunch for myself because I've got a slate of calls in the morning and a slate of calls in the afternoon. I don't want to be taking calls at 6 a.m. and then also at 6 p.m. That's like not for me. I don't want to have to, hey, can you approve this PTO that I'm going to take? And I know these are not like earth shattering problems, but they were just things that weren't aligned for me and like not what I am looking for in the long term. And I just saw myself like energetically, emotionally, mentally like dwindling in the process. And you're in it and you're trying to convince yourself it's not that bad, like it's going to get better, like everybody else around you's doing it, like you can do it too. And I just, at some point you're just like, okay, enough is enough. And also I'm like, let's walk away and try something else because corporate's not going anywhere. Like you can
Hmm.
always go back, you can always try again, you can, but like at least now I'm trying something that feels more aligned with me, and we'll see where the wind takes us.
There's two things that you said that really stuck out to me. One, you said making more money for a $1 billion company. And that's something I really felt when I was at my last job, where there were a lot of political things happening, and there were statements that were sent out on behalf of the company that was also sent out to the employees, and it was where they were putting their money to, and it was things I just didn't agree with. And I was like, why am I working for a company that supports the genocide or, like, terrible things, and
Mhm.
I'm getting paid by these companies? And it just didn't sit right with me. And when it came to other things, they were completely complacent and silent. So it really
Yeah,
made
that's
me think
hard.
a lot. And I get that it is a lot of people's livelihoods, but for me, I also knew that it wasn't aligned with who I was. So I had to take a different direction. And the other thing that you mentioned that also stuck out was how it's so political. And it's so true. Even if you are the hardest working person, you can be smart, all of that. It's going to go if you play your cards right. And sometimes that's not right, because it's just a matter of if you're playing it correctly. And there were different things that led me to seeing, I guess, a different side to the job that I was in.
I also think one of the hard or challenging parts of it was like we would have these like annual, I don't know if they were annual or quarterly, but then we'd have these like all company meetings, right? Like they've gone to an office that's like overseas, we're all like zooming in and they're going through the numbers of like, this is our like best quarter ever. And like we're crushing it here and crushing it there and crushing it here and crushing it there. And then you like go to your team and you're like, hey, let's talk about raises. And they're like, oh, like,
Oh my
don't
god.
know if we can do that right now. Or like what, and I'm like, okay, it just is not it's just not a game that I wanted to play
Yeah.
like for the long term.
That's so yeah. It's funny that it's the same no matter where you go in corporate, for the
Mhm.
most part. So,
Yeah,
what was the day you resigned? What did it look like? I know there wasn't
I can
any
tell you.
specific toxic moments, right? So how was it for you when you put in that notice?
I will say it's not that it's toxic, but there were always the other thing that I didn't love about corporate was that there were always these like panicked deadlines. Like everything needed to be done immediately. Everything was just always on fire, and I'm like, is this a real fire? Like, and so my last straw. It was a Friday afternoon, and usually Fridays were the days that like I was like upbeat and happy because we're like headed into the weekend. Like I've been like unplugged from this. And this Friday, I was just like sobbing. Like, no one had said anything to me, nothing dramatic had happened. There was like the panic on the team of like, this needs to happen like immediately, which again just does not sit well with my energy. And like, it was just too much. And so I called one of my friends and she answered and I go, I think today's the day. Like, I can't do this anymore. And being an amazing friend, she was like totally supported. Like, maybe you should just take the weekend and marinate on it before you make any big decisions. So that was a Friday. That Friday afternoon, I put a call on the calendar with HR for Monday. I went through the weekend. I thought about it. I was like, this is like what my plan's going to be, which like I really didn't have a plan, but I was like, I'm going to like do this thing. Monday, I like slacked my team. I said, hey, I'm not going to be available today. I had the call with HR at like 10 or 11. I can't remember. And I was like, today's going to be my last day. Like, I can't do this anymore. It is, my mental health is like in the gutters. And yeah, like today's my last day. And I remember the response being very HR like of like, okay, like sorry to hear that. What if your team asks you for like 2 more weeks? I said, hey, I don't have 2 weeks to give them. It quite literally is like we need to part ways right now because I am not myself anymore. And this is a big part of it. And that was like basically it.
It takes a lot of courage to put yourself first. And I think because a lot of corporate companies, they're at will employment. So even if they were to fire you, you're gone right away, right? So even the 2 week notice, that's more of a formality. And the fact that you put yourself first, that speaks to the boundaries that you were able to have, especially when it came to your mental health. So I commend you for that.
Thank you.
Were there any things when it came to your identity that you had a tough time letting go of? We are so much more than just our jobs. So did you ever attach your identity to, I guess, yourself? And how was that detaching if you did?
Yeah. I mean, you don't even, for me at least, I didn't realize how attached I was to it until I took it away. And it's like people are asking me, or I'm thinking about people are going to ask me questions and I have no clue how I'm going to answer them. It was like a whole thing in therapy. Like, I was like, we have to unpack this. But my theory with that and with a lot of things is okay, talking about it makes me uncomfortable. So basically, I'm just going to make myself continue to like talk about it until it's not uncomfortable anymore. And so now I can easily tell you like I make content, I travel, like I'm a podcast editor, all these things. But I think early on, it was teaching myself that I still have a lot of the value and the skill sets that I had in the corporate world. Like part of leaving it was like, well, maybe I'm not ambitious. Maybe I'm not a hard worker. Maybe I don't know how to lead a team or like all these little things that like made me a really great 9 to 5 employee. I was all of a sudden like, I'm not going to have any of those things. People are going to ask me what I'm going to do, like what I'm doing now. And they're going to like think I'm insane because like I don't have this like pretty title with all the bells and whistles. And then, in therapy, we were like, well, why don't you just say that you're taking some time away to like figure out what you want to do next? And I'm like, oh. And like you say it and you're like, it's like, that's not an insane statement. I think probably a lot of people would be able to say they're taking some time away to like figure out what's next. And so it's not amazing advice, but you really just keep like talking about it and you keep saying it. And then eventually it just becomes easier and you just accept it for what it is. And I also think you get clarity that like, there are a lot of people who are in 9 to 5s who have cool titles who are really amazing. There are also people that are in those roles that are amazing. And they like, it doesn't mean as much as like we want to
Right.
believe it means.
I do like how therapy framed that for you because it almost sounds like a homecoming to yourself where instead of trying to explain yourself because it's an external thing, it's more so, no, I'm taking time for myself. And that's like you don't owe anyone an explanation, and which you never should. But
But there's this pressure.
right, right. I can understand that. I feel that pressure too. There's so many times where people are like, "What do you do?" And now I feel more comfortable with saying, "Oh, I work at a restaurant and I'm also pursuing my dreams."
Mhm,
But I will also just say I work at a restaurant without any context to see the
mhm.
reaction.
Their
Yeah.
reaction.
Did you ever feel I know you left your six-figure job. Was it ever scary for you to leave the comfort and quote unquote stability of a corporate job?
Yeah. I think it's still scary to this day. I think anytime you're stepping into the unknown, it's going to be scary. And I really try to remind myself, and even like in my content, that fear is just like such a normal part of it all. Like it's always like a lingering factor, right? Like there was originally the fear of like putting the call on the calendar with HR to decide I was going to walk away. Then there was the fear of like how I'm going to talk about myself and my new reality to people. Then there's it's always along for the journey. And I think once you can embrace it and acknowledge that like it's just a normal piece of the puzzle, it's not really going to ever disappear, it takes some of the pressure off because I like my motto and like what I tell myself is, okay, well, like, how can I show up and be courageous in this space? How can I show up and be brave in this space? Like, I'm doing something brand new that like I'm not an expert at. I've never done it before. So this idea that I'm gonna like just walk in and be like not phased, not fearless is just it's an unrealistic expectation in my opinion. But I just think you have to remember that like you can't let it be the driving factor, because if fear was the driving factor, like I would still be in the corporate job, right? I wouldn't be taking the swings and trying the different things that I'm trying. Like I wouldn't be trying the digital nomad thing. I think sometimes people might think it like I'm this like fearless individual, and it's like quite literally not that. Like I just am pretty courageous and I'm willing to try. And I'm not afraid of failing. I'm not afraid of doing something wrong. I'm not afraid of missing the mark because I know my intentions when I move through this world are always like pure and like good hearted. So like I'm not afraid of that. And then I'm also not afraid of like, well, at least if I failed, and I don't even really believe in that, but like at least I'm trying, at least I'm getting the feedback, at least I'm like getting clarity and I'm understanding like what works and what doesn't work. When I first left corporate, I was like, I'm gonna be a florist. I love flowers. I go to the flower market every Sunday and I make a floral arrangement. And part of the reason I chose that is because I was still in the phase of like, people are going to ask me what I'm going to do. And it was easy to be like, I'm going to be a florist. Everybody understands what that is. You guys can picture me at weddings. You can picture me at events. And like, I kind of enjoy it. But it like wasn't, it ended up not being for me. But I'm not, I think there's a world in which like you could be embarrassed by it, like, oh, I tried this thing and it didn't work out for me. And I'm like, I tried it and I got clarity and I realized that like making floral arrangements is something that I want to stay a hobby for me because it like brings me joy and it like brings some like beautifulness into the space that I'm in. And I just want to like leave it as that. But it's like if I had been afraid, I probably wouldn't have tried it.
Mhm.
And so, my motto today and always will be like, it's okay to have some fear with you and to like be afraid. It's just like you can't let it be in the driver's seat. You really got to like buckle it into the passenger seat.
Yeah. I saw your TikTok about letting it be a passenger princess, but not letting it
Mhm.
take over. And that's an important message for everyone to hear because I'm someone who operated from fear. And that's why it took me so long to quit, take chances on myself. But I think this year was the year that I started to put it in the passenger seat a little bit more. And I know you might have already answered this in the topic of fear, but was there anything that you discovered or learned when you pushed past fear? Like what were the upsides, which you kind of touched on, but being
Mhm.
able to push past fear, what were you able to experience that you wouldn't have gained otherwise? And did your relationship with fear shift a little bit more into giving yourself more confidence and courage to live authentically?
Beautiful question. In addition to the things I just shared, it's given me freedom. It's given me the space to allow myself to like be human and to try things and be okay. Like there was so much pressure, and I didn't realize it at least, but there was so much pressure to check the boxes of life and to be this like picture perfect individual, right? Like I constantly presented as having my shit together. And not that I don't feel like I have my shit together, but it just takes so much pressure away. Like I'm a human being. I'm going to make mistakes. I'm not going to always get it right. I'm going to try my best. And I also just letting go of the fear has allowed me to try things that I would have never have tried probably. Traveling more has always been on my list, and I've always traveled. Like I probably was on a flight a month, but I have had this interest that like I want to go and like live in these places and see what it's really like. And like I've done it now. And so I know that like I can keep doing it. And for me, usually if you give me a taste of something, the universe is like, here's a little taste of what this could be like. I'm like, I've done it once, I can do it again. But moving through fear, it frees you up so much. And I don't think I've realized this until this very moment, but one of the things that really helps me move through that was maybe 2 years ago when I was still in my corporate job. I decided to try heels dance classes, and I had never done it, but it was just something that was interesting to me. And I remember going the first couple of times, I'm in the back of the room, I'm so shy. And then eventually you like make your way to the front of class. And typically at the end of the classes, they like split you into groups. And then like only four of you were doing the routine in front of the entire class. And when I tell you, I was like, how am I going to do this? But what it taught me was you would get to the end of the dance class to like perform in front of everybody else. And it's like, I have no clue how person A has been doing in this class, how person B has been doing in this class, because I've been so focused on myself and my journey. And I think a lot of times we have fear because fear of how we're going to be perceived or like what people are going to think. And something about that heels class showed me, oh, people are so wrapped up in their own little worlds, as they should be, that whatever mistake you think is going to be like earth shattering, no one cares.
Mhm.
They really don't. And the ones who matter, like again in the heels class, it's like the people who are really seasoned at this are so supportive. They remember what it was like to start. The people who are also new with you are like empathetic because they're in the same space as you. Anybody else really doesn't matter. I literally just realized that right now. But yeah, moving past fear gives you so much freedom.
Yeah,
It really does
yeah.
in all the ways.
That was a really good message. I think that is something that younger me would have really appreciated knowing. So I hope people can take that information and apply it, especially if they're going through a similar journey as you are. And I think
Mhm.
I think that's what you're already doing with your content, which is so beautiful to see. I want to move on to now what you're doing in your digital nomad life. And so you've been out of corporate for, I believe, a year and some change, right?
That's correct.
And when did you start digital nomading, and what are the locations you've been to so far? I know you were just in Europe.
So it's funny you asked that because, like I said, I've always been a traveler and I was in Hawaii maybe in like September. And it just kind of like, it was such a peaceful experience. I was like, I think I'm going to start like identifying as a digital nomad. Like this feels kind of like my vibe. Like I'm waking up, I'm working in the morning, I'm staring at the ocean. By the afternoon, I'm like going for a walk by the beach. Like it was, I was like, I love this. And so then it kind of just like grew from there. I was like, let me find the next spot. And so Lisbon, Portugal was where I really kicked off the journey. I did a little over a month there. It's different than just like traveling somewhere for like a week. And I wasn't prepared. I packed a checked bag, a personal bag, a carry on, and my checked bag was like well over 50 pounds. I'm carrying it up the fourth floor. There's no elevator. Literally thought I was going to have a heart attack when I got to that front door. But like, it was a journey. And so I did that. And then I left there and I went to go meet a friend in Florence. And I was in Florence for a little bit. And then from Florence, we went to Lake Como, Italy, which was like been a dream city of mine to go check out. And then took the train to Switzerland for a hot second. And then I came back and I do wish I went back to Florence for a second and I wish I would have stayed in Italy a little bit longer. But then I came back for the holidays and then I just booked my next trip and I'm heading to Mexico City for a month because I've been to Mexico City, but Europe was a little far for me from like a time difference standpoint. And it just being like the first go and the weather wasn't great. Mexico City is like 75 degrees right now. The time zones are a bit more aligned. I've been before, so I think it'll be a really great second city. But my hope is to continue to try a new city and country each month if I can figure it out.
What are some things that you've learned from your nomading experience? I know it's so different from corporate, and I know it's such a dream, but are there any challenges and also amazing things that you're experiencing?
Totally. I think the biggest thing I've learned is I can do hard things. I can do things that are out of my comfort zone. I can do things I'm not familiar with. I can figure it out and I learned or I saw in myself that I don't stress as much as I used to. Like I used to be like very type A. Like we had plans, we had backup plans for the main plans, and when we had backup plans for the backup plans, and now I just truly operate from like, okay, if a problem arises, like there's a solution to it and you can figure it out from there. But when you're digital nomading, you just can't always predict the things. You can't predict that the track on the train station board is going to change and it's going to change last second. You can't predict that you're only going to have 2 minutes to get there. You can't predict the delayed flight. Like so many things are out of your control. And so it really just taught me that like you can do hard things. There's a solution to everything. There's no need to stress. And that's probably been like my like deeper takeaways. On like a more surface level takeaway, I need sunshine. It rained a lot in Lisbon, but the issue is that it was rainy and gloomy. Like I need sunshine. Didn't know that. I love to be able to walk places. I also am discovering I don't know how much I love being in like super busy cities, which is interesting because I just booked Mexico City, but I didn't realize that until I had this weekend trip. But yeah, I mean, you learn so much through the journeys.
Yeah, it sounds like you're learning a lot about yourself now,
Mhm,
and I'm sure there's a sense of that in corporate too, where you're learning things that you don't want and whatnot, but there's this self-exploratory state that you can be in when you're doing this. So I love that you're able to discover so much about yourself that it would have probably taken longer if you stayed in corporate.
for sure.
How do you maintain, manage, and I guess focus on work now that it's not so structured anymore?
It's an adjustment, but it's like a really good adjustment because now I enjoy what I'm working on. I enjoy what I do. So like every day I'm up and I'm like, okay, like what problems are we tackling? Like what are we going after today? When I'm traveling, and I guess even in my day to day, I have like a morning routine. So like I'm up before I was traveling, my morning routine was like I'm up at 4:45, I'm hitting the gym at 5:30, I'm coming back, I'm meditating, I'm journaling, and then like I'm working by like 9 a.m. probably. Now it's a little bit easier or like a little bit more flowy. So like I probably have been waking up. And even when I was traveling, like in Lisbon, because I didn't want to get up at 4:45 and go to like a workout class in like a place that I don't really know by myself. So it was like I'm up at 7, I'm meditating, I'm journaling, and then I like would walk to the coffee shop and I'm working from the coffee shop, or I'm working from home, I'm taking calls from home. And I work until like 2 or 3. That was another thing I learned when I was in Lisbon and I was like hanging out with some other women. We worked from a co-working space for the day, and it was maybe like 2 or 3, and we were getting hungry, so we walked to go get some food. And she was like, "What are you going to do?" And I was like, "I'm going to go home and probably do some more work because, like I need to do some more things." And she's like, she's also American, but she was like, "That's so American of you. Like, why don't you just come to this wine bar with me and another friend?" And like, I did. And it taught me that there's not this immense pressure that like I need to get every single thing done every day. Like, I'll wake up, I'm going to do my best, I'm going to get through as much as I possibly can, but I'm not grinding myself into the ground to get through all 1,000 items on my ever growing to-do list. You just kind of like take it item by item.
That's a good point because I only really know American culture since I've grown up here. So I think even that
Mhm,
cultural shift and like work-life balance, that's a good takeaway too that you're learning from digital nomading. And
for
yeah,
sure.
that balance is so critical. I think I could take a page out of that book for sure.
Yeah.
How do you define success now?
This is going to be like a very non-corporate answer, but I really do. For me right now, success is just like my peace and prioritizing my happiness. There's not this like, yeah, I want the content to grow, and yeah, I want more podcast editing clients and all the like external things that like keep us moving as a society. But after spending so much of my life being not on edge, but just like worked up and stressed out and go, 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 and like a woman with a plan who like knows how to get things done and make things happen, like I really right now, I want peace. I want happiness. I want to move and spend my time very intentionally. I want to really like honor myself, my feelings, my desires. So like if it doesn't feel good, my answer is probably going to be no, and there's probably not going to be much of an explanation to it other than like it's just a no for me right now, and like being okay with that. It's interesting because success used to be like such a like big shiny object with like a cool title and the amazing paycheck, and I'm like I really just want peace. I really just want happiness. I think all those other things are really amazing. I really just want to go like see the world, explore. I want to follow my curiosities and see where that can take me. And that's really like what I'm prioritizing right now. And it can be really hard to do in like the world and the society that we live in. Because if you look around and it kind of feels like, am I doing something wrong? Am I not understanding something? Am I missing something? And I just for so long I've like listened to like how life should be done, and I feel like I'm in a season of like how Aisha wants to do life, and that to me, there's no price point you can put on that. There's no nothing feels right now in this season of life, nothing feels more successful to me than waking up and being like, what does Aisha want to do today, and doing exactly that.
You know, I also defined success similarly before, where it was the title, it was the amount of money you're making, it was, the company that you're working for. And I've had to rewire what success looks like. And it's also understanding that for everyone, it looks different. And wanting peace and prioritizing what you want out of life is really important. And I think that takes the back burner a lot of the time. So I love that that's how you're defining success, and you're finding fulfillment for yourself first and foremost, as
Totally.
opposed to through an external thing. So I think that's an important point.
Yeah, and I think like I need money to survive, right? Like, and I think all those things will continue to come, and like all the whatever the titles are, or like whatever external things that you need. Like, it's not to say that I don't ever want to make more money again, but it's just like right now the season is truly just like peace and self and happiness and curiosity. So yeah, it's been an adjustment.
And then switching gears to content creation, because I know that's also something that you do. For the folks that aren't familiar, what kind of content do you create?
That's a great question. I think my content falls into the category of self development mixed with like, this sounds cheesy, but like authentic storytelling. So I think there are a lot of people who want to help you and teach you how to be like confident and how to heal your anxious attachment style, or how to leave the corporate world, or how to start freelancing. And I think those are all amazing. I really am trying to be the voice that's like, I also receive all that like information and all that feedback and all that content. Let me show you how I'm doing it so that you can get like a play by play of like, okay, does this stuff work? Does it not work? And also, my hope is that people like try the things with me. But I like, that's my content journey. And like, I just try to document my real life experience through like conversations. Okay, I decided to be a digital nomad. Let me tell you how it's going. Let me tell you what day 4 is like, what day 10 is like. I decided I want to do podcast editing. Like, let me tell you how it's been getting that off the ground, you know? And so it feels a little like I do a little bit of everything in the content world. How about that? I don't know if I described it well, but
No,
yeah.
you did. I think it's great because you're so vulnerable on it and you're such a real person. And I think that's what resonated for me. And I love that you're sharing your true journey and your experiences. I don't know if you're familiar with human design.
Mhm.
I'm a 3-5 profile, so it's the Great Life Experimenter. And it sounds similar to that, where you're experiencing life for the first time and you're documenting it, sharing it out, and people are sort of taking your experiences and learning from them. And I think that's really wonderful that you're doing that,
That's my goal. And so
regardless of if you're a 3-5 profile or not.
no, I think I'm a manifest or generating manifester or something. One of
Okay,
the
okay.
I can't remember exactly, but my goal is to like share it. And it's really funny that you say it comes off as vulnerable. I was like not vulnerable for majority of my life. Like, vulnerability scared the living daylights out of me, and it still does a little bit, but through this like whole process and like everything, I've grown so much in that way. And so I hope me sharing my content humanizes a lot of the experiences that I feel like I've had in like isolation, even though I know wholeheartedly I'm not the only one feeling this way, experiencing this, but like, let's just have the conversations.
Thank you for sharing everything because it was so helpful. And I just love having these conversations with people who are taking chances on themselves and creating their dream life. And you're such an inspiration. Like, listening to your story gives me the courage to keep going. And when I see your profile, your TikTok, your content, I'm like, okay, like she is doing it and I can do it too. So
Mhm.
thank you for just being a point of inspiration. Last question. What does aligning with purpose mean to you?
Beautiful question. Beautiful name of the podcast, by the way.
Thank you.
I really think aligning with purpose means peace, which is like obviously my favorite word of the day, and being authentic with your truest self and your truest desires. Aligning with purpose to me means I'm walking into whatever room and you are getting the most authentic version of Aisha. I'm in whatever conversations, whatever spaces, and I'm spending my time and energy in a way that like I truly desire. And it is, in my mind, the most peaceful thing.
I love your take on aligning with purpose. Thank you for sharing what that means to you. I would love to give you the time to share where people could find you, your social platforms, and if there's anything upcoming that you'd like to share with everyone.
You wonderful humans that are listening and watching this amazing podcast can find me on all the social platforms at Aishah Tries, AISHAHTRIES. I'm on TikTok, I'm on Instagram, I'm on YouTube, which we're like having some traction over there. Or you can listen to my podcast called Creator&Women, which is available on all platforms as well. And I'm working on a digital product to help people figure out how to like start over and navigate that journey. And I'm also possibly hosting my very first retreat next year, which will be for people like
Exciting.
wanting a little break from corporate burnout is like what is in the works. So would love to meet and mingle with any and all of you.
Oh my gosh, exciting. I will put all your links down in the show notes so people can access all of it. And the retreat sounds so fun. That sounds so fun that you're creating something for people who are trying to take a break and, be in
I
tune
think
with
we all need
themselves.
it.
Yeah, we really
Yeah.
do. Well, this was really, really lovely, and I'm so glad that we were connected and we got the chance to speak to each other. And your story is incredible, and I hope you have a wonderful day and you continue to have the momentum to keep doing what you're doing because what you're doing is so inspiring, and I can't wait to keep rooting you on from New York and excited to see what you do next.
Thank you so much for the kind words and thank you for having me. It's been a joy. And this is like my first podcast as Aisha Tries. And so I'm really grateful.
Yay, I'm excited. For those of you that want to catch this episode, you can catch it on Spotify. You can catch it on any of your favorite streaming platforms. We have the video version on YouTube. It's going to be Aligning with Purpose. And you can also find us on socials at TikTok and on Instagram at aligningwithpurpose.pod and at Julioshi, Juliyyoshi. And if you enjoyed our conversation, please give us a rating and a like and subscribe to our content. So thank you so much. And so great to meet you, Aisha.
Likewise. Thank you.
Bye, everybody. See you at the next one.